Community Profiles with TV Rotorua and the Rotorua Energy Charitable Trust. Thank you for inviting us into your place for another edition of Community Profiles. With me is a lady who is steeped in history in the nicest possible way. I have with me Angeline Carl. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Now, Women's Auxiliary, the Rotorua branch of Women's Auxiliary, and in doing a little bit of research, I have to say I thought I'd better know what I'm talking about. I found, obviously, that there's quite a bit of history involved. Now, who better to tell us a little bit about background it for us, Angeline, if you would?
Well, we've been functioning for 58 years, but in that 58 years, it has evolved from what it was to what it is now. It's poles apart. The hospital used to use the auxiliary to distribute library books, sweets, all sorts of things around the hospital. That
almost
changed.
like a service organisation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that changed when the stay of patients diminished. People don't stay in hospital for 2 weeks anymore, so it all changed. And now, of course, with the new hospital being built, what we used to do, packaging stuff for the stores that was used in the wards, that has gone. So we now
So it's evolved into something that is, fortunately, obviously for the community, is still going strong.
Well, we did look as though we were going to have to fold up when the new hospital started, but we do a lot of knitting and have done for years. For the outreach nurses take it out into the community. It's used in the hospital, in all the wards. We get our funds from the Charitable Energy Trust, and so we're keeping on doing that. We've got about, I don't know, 35, 40 members.
35 to 40. And they're all knitters?
They're all knitters. All knitters.
Pity we couldn't have them in here.
Exactly.
We could have a natter to some knitters, as it were.
That
was a joke. That's
yeah,
right.
yeah, okay.
That's okay. But let's look at what you do in terms of that group. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's quite a number. And I would imagine, because of the size of that group and what you do, there's a bit of a social aspect to it as well.
Well, I think that's true. I think a lot of people saw it in the latter years, before we moved away from the hospital as such. They did see it as a social environment, somewhere where they could come once a month, catch up with people. That still happens to a large extent, but also they're bringing along their knitting.
And I guess that's one of the things that, because of the social aspect, that keeps the group going.
It is. It is. The Charitable Trust finance us, and out of those funds we buy the wool, so no knitter has to put their hand in their pocket. Wow. And those garments and whatever go out to the community for the.
What sort of things do they knit? I have to ask you.
Bed socks.
Wow.
If you're in bed with your foot in plaster, what more do you need than a bed sock to keep that foot warm? Bed jackets for the elderly, garments for the newborns, the prem unit.
Booties.
You name it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And rugs for the elderly services people. It's a whole range of stuff.
I suppose also because of the skill. I mean, one would imagine once upon a time that the knitting aspect, or the craft of knitting, was not on its way out, but it was a little bit old-fashioned as such. But groups like yourself are keeping it alive, aren't you?
Yeah, well, we'd like to think so, but we do. Look, we would love new members. The age group we've got is probably all retired. What we'd like to see is new blood coming in, younger people. We'll keep it going, because unfortunately, if that doesn't happen, it will slowly grind to a halt.
And you've got enough experience in there to add a bit of tutorial and skill teaching.
Well, there's that about it.
Yeah.
There's that about it. If a young mum wanted to come along, she'd be more than welcome. We only meet once a month in the boardroom at the Charitable Trust. Lovely surroundings, nice social atmosphere, cup of coffee.
Well, look, we appreciate what you're doing, and it sounds to me like there's always going to be a need for what you do in terms of garments
it'll never go away.
or items, exactly. So keep up the good work, and appreciate you joining us here. Now, your contact details are going to be coming up at the end of the screen, so hopefully you won't be inundated with phone calls.
Look forward to it.
The Women's Auxiliary doing a great job. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us here on Community Profiles. I'm Wayne Douglas, and we'll see you next time. Community Profiles with TV Rotorua and the Rotorua Energy Charitable Trust.